With the alarming advancement of the novel coronavirus in Latin America, thousands are protesting against the government's economic response to the outbreak. Unions and social organizations took to the streets and squares in various parts of Ecuador to reject the economic measures imposed by President Lenin Moreno. Ecuador is facing a strong liquidity crisis in the dollarized economy amidst the pandemic. Around 2,000 people demonstrated in capital Quito, defying restrictions aimed at combating the pandemic. The collapse of world oil prices and the effects of the pandemic have reduced state revenues by about $8 billion. This has led to cuts in public spending by the government last week, which includes a reduction in the working day and the closure of several public entities and cuts to public sector salaries. An estimated 150,000 jobs have been lost as a result of COVID-19 in Ecuador. The measures led unions and social organizations to march, carrying posters with anti-government slogans through the streets of capital Quito. There is a strict lockdown in the city due to the increasing number of infections and deaths from the virus.
Se supone ya el retiro de los subsidios de los combustibles, se insiste con el recorte de tiempo y de sueldos en el sector público, se ha despedido a personal y además ha aumentado medidas como un muy grave recorte para las universidades. Esto se siente con más fuerza si tomamos en cuenta que la crisis económica se ha agudizado y la crisis sanitaria por la pandemia que vive ahora el Ecuador.
Ecuador has registered over 37,000 COVID-19 infections and 3,200 plus deaths. But authorities have said figures could be much higher due to underreporting. Meanwhile, in Chile, demonstrators gathered on the streets of capital Santiago and set up barricades in the area. Protesters blocked a street demanding government benefits to cope with the lockdown. The protesters are considered middle class according to social security regulations, so they're excluded from benefits made available for people affected by the crisis. Police tried to persuade the protesters to stop, pointing out that they were breaching quarantine rules, but the demonstrations continued. They were later dispersed by the police using water cannons. A number of similar protests have taken place in Santiago in the recent weeks. Chilean authorities reported on Monday close to 74,000 COVID-19 infections and 529 deaths, most of them in the Santiago metropolitan area.
Necesitamos alimento, necesitamos protección, necesitamos que lo atiendan. Yo soy operada del corazón y no me dan nada.
Last week, the World Health Organization described South America as a new epicenter of the disease.